How did I meet Bill? Well, I wasn't out yet. I'd looked into one of the gay magazines with events, things to do. I didn't know if I wanted to go to a gay bar. I'd never been to one. And at the time, there were like leather bars. There were bars that played Dynasty. There were bars for different facets of your life. And I didn't know what kind of a gay I was yet. But I saw that there was a gay scuba club starting up. And I thought I would join that. And they would have monthly meetings. And for the first 3 months, I would drive there and turn around and go back home. And on the fourth time, I went in, and the person to greet me at the door and welcome me was this guy. And I thought, oh, I should have known this guy was gay. But I could see gays and lesbians of all different looks and sizes and ages. And I thought this could be fun. But then they had Bill basically show me around, and he's very friendly and hands-on, and it's scary because I think he was like, is he making a pass? Is he coming on to me? This is weird. I'm not ready for this yet. Like, no. I need to sit at this table with these other people and, see the guest speaker and learn about gay diving, which is the same as straight diving. So I started going to events and diving, so I got used to seeing everybody. I still wasn't quite out, and I don't know if I was looking for a boyfriend, but I would also see different people I was more interested in, and it wasn't him. But I also didn't want to get tied down or anything yet. I still wanted to explore, but I was still really bad at that. I wasn't seeing any kind of action because I wasn't going to like gay bars or meeting guys much. Well, I'm not used to doing so much talking. It's usually him.
It was not love at first sight.
No. But only a few months after joining the club, they had the first dive trip for a week in another country to Cozumel. So not only was I not out, I'd already booked this trip to go with them to Cozumel. And at the very last minute, I told my roommate, so I'm going to Cozumel next week. And it's with a bunch of gay and lesbian scuba divers, and I'm gay, and can you take me to the airport?
I was a rescue diver at that point to help the dive instructor and to help take care of everybody. It was part of my job for it to go. And I couldn't even tell you, but I knew if I had made a move on that trip, you would have thought it would have been like vacation fling, and that would have been it. And then you would have tossed me out. And I had to be in it for the long game. So I waited, and we had a party one night, and somebody else made a move on him. I gritted my teeth, and I had to leave because I couldn't watch it. I had to go. I left.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it took me from March to May. So it took me 2 months to convince him to just go on a date with me. So I took him to the most meaningful place for me, which was Disneyland. I kind of knew at the end of the evening that, yeah, I had him.
And we didn't jump into sex right away either.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Did we? After Disneyland?
Oh, yeah. The whole time, the whole drive going back, no, the whole drive going back, taking him back to his apartment, right?
Right.
The whole drive. He was constantly throwing out reminders, not every other sentence, but it was we're not having sex tonight. We're not doing it on the first date. It's not happening. I never pushed it. I never even broached the topic. No. And then took him back. I got you to your apartment. I parked right out in front, and then we started kissing, and then he's like, you want to come up? And I said, yes. Some people say, if you have sex on the first date, it's never going to work out. I'm here to tell you 33 and a half years later, it works out. I needed to impress you. I needed to stand out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I nailed it.
Oh.
You made me wait a year.
Right.
I was okay with the long game. I never pushed it. Words of affirmation are not Roy's love language. Roy's love language is acts of service. In my previous relationship, I had a guy who could tell me 30 times a day, I love you, but I never felt it at all. Maybe in the beginning, I talked myself into believing it, but I would rather have somebody who could never tell me they loved me, but every day I felt it. Exactly who I got. I never demanded it, and I never felt like I needed it because I knew that just wasn't you. But the one thing that did scare me is at the time, all of our couple friends, right around the 7 or 8 year mark, they all broke up.
Oh no, we had sent out, like, there were 3 couples we had sent Christmas cards to, and we got back 6 individual Christmas cards stating that they had broken up.
They never even told us they'd broken up.
They told us in the Christmas cards.
It was like all of these, and it wasn't all at the same time. They didn't all break up at the same time. But I mean, once they hit the 7 year mark for their relationship.
Oh, you think that was it?
I don't know what it was. And that's why I was kind of scared when we had that talk. It was like, is that going to happen to us? Because we were like maybe 4 years into our relationship. That was very unnerving. There's some changes that happened in my job. So we ended up moving down to San Diego and buying a house in San Diego. All those boxes that are stressors, not only for an individual, but also stressor for couples, moving cities, moving jobs, buying a house, like all of these things we loaded onto ourselves all at once.
But I was still too nervous about leaving my job. I would work in LA and, like, on Wednesdays, drive down to San Diego and then drive back up to LA and then drive back on the weekends.
He thought I was breaking up with him on Christmas Eve. Like, no, why do you think I'm breaking up with you? I'm just saying you either need to move down here or we need to, like, get me a job back up there. Because I don't want a weekend husband. I want somebody that I can live my life with. I don't want this just to be a weekend thing. I work in the pharmaceutical industry. So pharmaceutical companies are bought over multiple times. Bought bits and pieces, sold off, things like that. Employees are layered over each other. Jobs are kind of like, you find yourself where you thought you were mid-level. Now you're finding yourself going down the ladder instead of climbing up the ladder. And I had an opportunity to move to Florida. He didn't even get a chance to live in San Diego and then uproot us and move across the country. That was a huge stressor. And that was at year 10. That almost broke us up. He didn't know whether or not, even on that last day at work, whether or not he was going to go or not.
So it was happening, even though in my head I'm thinking, like, can I still change my mind? Like, why would I do that? I can't commute from California to Florida on a weekly, daily basis. So in LA and San Diego, we had met other gay couples. A lot of them did mundane things like mow the lawn, do housework, maybe throw dinner parties. And we tried to do that with people in the neighborhood, gay and straight. And we tried doing that in Florida. But a lot of the gay couples in Florida, they're the ones who, like, slowly started breaking up because of that whole candy store aspect to Wilton Manors, where there's a dozen bars and they're open every day. In San Diego, a lot of the bars are just open, like, on weekends. So if you're looking to go meet guys,
there are some people who move to Florida specifically because they know vacationers come and they don't want a relationship, but they want to have, like, lots of sex with somebody who isn't going to be clingy and they're going to leave, right? They want that. That's why they come. But then we have couples who kind of fall victim into that trap.
Well, and not just couples who are monogamous, couples who may have open relationship to begin with, but the fact that there are so many people you could be having sex with, I think there's this, jealousy and
There are lots of issues in relationships that get exacerbated.
I mean, if we'd moved to Florida after 2 or 5 years together, we would have had fights or who knows. But we were very confident in our relationship at this point. When we have like disagreements or if I'm upset, I can't think of an example because if I do, it'll sound petty. But my way was just to like shut up, not say anything, give him the silent treatment, maybe walk out of the room so he knows.
Well, we had to learn how to disagree constructively. You know, when they say your partner knows how to push your buttons? Well, of course they do, because they were the ones that installed those buttons. And some of those buttons are destruct buttons, and the other person can just fall to pieces. And then you immediately regret having done that. But you have to learn how to not let that frustration go to the point where you destroy the other person to make your point.
We try to have open communication.
Right.
And always talk about things. And even if we're going to a party, we don't even have to say it. But because we're scuba divers, there's this signal you give each other, especially when you're like floating on the surface from far away. You get this little okay sign. And so we could be in a different part of the room and like an okay, like, but besides, I can also give a little look, kind of like, I'm ready to leave now.
Have you seen that one video of this where these two guys have a conversation just by looking at each other, and they have the subtitles of everything?
That's what it is.
We have that. We've been together for so long now that we have that language. We didn't always have that language, but we do now.
And sometimes my anger comes from, he will plan like, oh man,
yeah.
Even when I think we're going to do a dinner, it's like, oh, well, so-and-so's in town, I'm inviting them to, like, okay. They're like, wait, I'm going to change the reservation. I'm going to need a table for 12, unless it's invite more people. It's like, actually, no, they're going to come here first. So you need to clean this up. You need to clean that up. It's like, I don't want to spend a whole lot of money. All of even our trips, like, I'm surprised this one's so short. Like, we went with friends to Hawaii in 2021, but he thought, oh, well, so we don't get a lot of jet lag. We should spend some time in LA when we come back. Oh, but the price, it costs too much to come back on that day. So we must have stayed longer. Oh, but we're going to Salt Lake City. So we get to see friends in LA and Salt Lake City. So this 10-day trip in Hawaii turns into what? 16 days overall. But he's an extrovert. I'm an introvert. I mean, even if they're my really good friends, it's so much weighs on me. And he knows that once I'm in this situation, I'm better, but I don't necessarily like being dragged into these things. But I guess how else would I be? But honestly, like when he travels, that first day he's gone, it's like, oh, I could stay, I could do what I want. I could watch what I want to watch on TV. I could watch 6 movies in a day if I want to. Then the next day I miss him, but anything longer than 3 days, like I might as well travel with it.
Speaking of open communication, I've had way more experience with a lot more men. And I had friends that were saying, don't get in a relationship with him because the minute you bring him out of the closet, he's going to bust those hinges right off the wall. Kind of, that was their thinking. I had those two opposing thoughts. One, you're not that type of person, but yet there may come a day when you do want to have sex with somebody else. And that day did come. But that also kind of opened up a very much broader conversation is, what do we do with that? How do we fit that into our lives now that it is a reality and it's no longer a theory? We're not an open relationship, but we have had opportunities where we've had some threesomes.
It's not like we go out looking for it. Talk about that jealousy thing again. Like, I don't want to watch him with someone else or vice versa. Like, it has to be mutual all around.
It's kind of a rarity when it actually does happen.
Well, especially during the time when we had the house in San Diego and he was working in Florida, and I was still working in California. So we didn't get to see each other too often, but they're right. But you also were doing that in Florida. So we both slipped up at the same time.
We both slipped up at the same time, and that was a very tearful conversation that we had over the phone.
I think that's how I knew we had to like still be together. You need to be in each other's lives. I mean, we still like to nudge each other if we see someone attractive go by. I mean, we still like to share those experiences with each other.
The things about now being our age, what we look at, what we think about.
It's like just getting through the day. I swear, even like on Netflix, like, oh, how many episodes is this show? Because am I going to live long enough to see this whole thing completed?
Now it's like, okay, we need to get a car that's our height that we can transfer over into easily. You know, we think about those kinds of things. We learn now that our bodies are different. Therefore, we have to learn how to move through the world differently because the world isn't going to change for us.
I mean, something can happen at any moment, an accident, but just planning on being old together, I don't know what ailment or accidents or who's taking care of who or how or why. And like, we don't have kids to help in a situation.
We have those issues now to work through and to work through together. Like, who's going to be durable power of attorney? Where are we going to retire to? You know, are we going to stay where we live? Are we going to, where do we go? Are we going to move closer to this person or that person? Are we just going to kind of pitch where we're at right now for the time being and then just see what happens?
You know, or wait until, one of us goes blind, one goes deaf. But I don't want to think about that.
I know you don't want to think about that, but it's something that we all have to think about though, right? I know we're going to be okay, but there are just things that you have to think about and plan for that we didn't have to think about and plan for when we were in our 30s. We should have. Nobody does when they're in their 30s. Well, not us anyway.
We're not like those couples who say like, you're not going to be happy until you find the right person. It's like, you know what? That's just the path they're on. Maybe they're happier. They have more control over their life that way. Or feel sorry for them for some reason.
Yeah, like I don't feel sorry for them. They're happy. I'm happy that they're happy. Yeah. I don't think a relationship's for everybody. And just because society tells you, oh, you need to grow up, graduate, get a degree, get married, have kids, that whole life path. It's like, there's so many paths that people can take. And as long as you're happy on the path that you're on, stay on it. Go for it. If you meet a guy or a gal along the way that makes your life that much better, go for that too. You want to know what gets me angry?
Me stalling.
Stalling.
Yeah, I'm good at that.